Hi there. So in an earlier video, we talked about powers and exponents, but those powers or those exponents were always positive. So today we're going to look at what do you do when the exponent is negative. So we're going to start by just seeing if we can find a pattern here. All right, so 10 to the third power tells me that I need to multiply 10 3 times. So 10 times 10 times 10. Now hopefully you know the trick. When you're multiplying by 0, all right, then you can just multiply these numbers. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and then add the number of zeros you need. So 0, 0, 0 means this is the number 1,000. Okay, if you don't know that rule, what's 10 times 10? 100. 100 times 10, if you had to work it out, you could. But 100 times 10, okay, so I would have a 0 row, and then I would start with a 0, and I have 0, 0, 100, and I would get 1,000. All right, but trust me, you've got 3 zeros, so this is 1,000. All right, 10 squared means I have 10 times 10, which is 100, right? And then 10 to the first power just means there's 1 10, so then I have 10. So let's just see if we can see the pattern right now. So we went from 1,000, all right, to 100 to 10. What are we doing? Okay, it's like we're going down each time by how much? So let's see. So if this was 1,000, this was 100, this was 10, what would you expect this to be now? Well, hopefully you're noticing that these are going down by 10 each time. All right, so if I divide 1,000 by 10, you know, I get 100, because what is 100 times 10? 1,000. So if you go backwards, 1,000 divided, if I took away a 10, how many would I have? I would get 100. If I took away a 10, what would I get? 100, right? If I took the 10 away, right, 1 times 10, this would just be 1. Oops, sorry, not this one. Take 10 away from here, then this is 1. All right, so 10 to the 0 power is equal to 1. All right, well, what happens when you can no longer, all right, divide the number by 10? Because that's really what's happening here. I'm dividing by 10 each time. As the exponent gets smaller, so what would be 1 divided by 10? Anybody know? 1 divided by 10. Well, I can write, remember, division like a fraction. So this also means 1 divided by 10, or 1/10. How do you write 1/10? 1/10, and not 1/10, 0.1. Okay, so what would you think this would be? Okay, instead of 1, I can't divide by 10, right? I was dividing by 1/10. What about here? Well, maybe I'm dividing by 10. What was 10 to the second power? 100. So instead of 1/10, could we guess that this is 1/100th? Yes, and we would be correct. That is 1/100. All right, so this, how do I write that? 0.01. What would you expect this to be? It can't be 1,000, right? So maybe it's 1 divided by 1,000. That's correct, 1/1,000. And so this would be 0.001. All right, so hopefully what you notice, first of all, 0 exponent, what did we get? We got 1. That works for any exponent of 0. So anytime you have a number to the 0 exponent, it's always going to equal 1. Exponents represent repeated multiplication. Okay, that's what we got, 10 times 10 times 10, right? Negative exponents represent repeated division, all right? So this is 1/10. Okay, we could also have written this one, divide by 10 twice. So what's divided by 10 twice? 1/100. Okay, this is divide by 10. The negative exponents tell me I'm dividing, repeated division. Okay, another way to write division is to write it like a fraction. So I'm dividing by 10 3 times. So what do I get? 1/1000. All right, so once you know that, consider this. 2 to the 4th power means 2 times 2 times 2. Right, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. All right, that's a positive exponent. So what about 2 to the negative 4? All right, so this is telling me to divide by 2, because it's a negative exponent, 4 times. All right, so dividing by 2, what's a way to divide by 2 is to use 1/2. 1/2. Fractions are another way to write division. So I'm dividing by 2, that's what that means. 1 divided by 2. Dividing by 2 4 times. So 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. All right, so 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. That's easy. 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, so 1/16. Okay, so was a negative exponent negative? Nope. Okay, it's not negative. Okay, it's just division. All right, and then 1 to the, okay, so this, okay, so look at how these compare, right? This is 16. This is 1 over 16. You seeing any similarities here? This to the first power was 10. To the negative 1 is 1/10. The second power is 100. You seeing this? The second power, 10 to the second power is 100. 10 to the negative 2 power is what? 1 over 100. 10 to the third power is 1,000. It's 10 to the negative 3. 1 over 1,000. Don't these numbers look the same? Yeah. So what's the difference? They're in a different place. All right. So if I use that pattern, let's see if we can figure it out. So if this is 16, 2 to the negative 4 is the same thing as 2 to the 4th. It's just what? In the denominator. 1/16. Okay, which is the same thing as 1 over 2/4. All right, so here's what you really need to know. Move negative exponents to the denominator to make the exponent positive. All right, so if I don't want this negative, I just move it to the denominator. All right, well, where right now it's in the numerator, 2 over 1. So how do you move it to the denominator? You just move it down. Okay, and once you move it down, the exponent becomes positive, and then it's just a regular exponent. All right, so express each expression using a positive exponent. All right, so again, what did I just say? I want to move negative exponents to the denominator, move them, right? Then denominator, if I move the exponent to the denominator, it's attached to the base, so the base goes with it. So that means it's moving down here. 7, and now it's positive. It got moved down. All right, maybe think of it as an apartment, right? You move down, you pay less rent. I don't know, something like that. All right, so, or maybe you pay more rent because it went to a positive. I don't know. All right, so you have to have something up here. So just like we had to make this a fraction, we had to have a 1 down here. To make this a fraction, we have to have a 1 up here. All right, and then we're just using positive exponents on that, so we're done. All right, a to the negative 3. All right, so if we make this a fraction, because we're going to be moving things, then I'm going to move this part to the bottom. So this, since the a is attached, it moves too. Got to take all your stuff downstairs. All right, so a goes with the exponent. Now the 3 is positive, and what goes here? A 1. All right, like here. So I'm going to make this over 1. All right, so what is this? I want to get rid of the negative exponent by moving it down. Okay, what is this exponent attached to? To the n or to the 4? Okay, it's just the n, which means the 4 gets to stay upstairs. All right, so just the n is moving with the exponent, which is now positive. 4 into the 4. All right, here again, if I think of this as a fraction, the d has to move downstairs. Maybe it hasn't paid its rent, so it's got to go downstairs. Okay, the c is positive, so it gets to stay upstairs. Okay, it doesn't have to go anywhere. c is cubed. Move the d down. All right, now it's positive. Okay, all right. Evaluate each expression. All right, so now we're actually going to find the answer. So first, let's move it. So if I think of this as having to move downstairs, what's coming with it? The 5. Now the 4 is positive, so I'm going to put a 1 here because it's got to be a fraction. All right, then 5 to the 4th means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. All right, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 25. Anybody know that? 625. All right, so this is 1 over 625. Look at this one. This time, I need to move, right? The whole thing is attached to this negative exponent, so the whole thing moves down. So negative 3 moves to the bottom. Now the 5 is positive, but you got to have something upstairs. You got to have a 1 upstairs. All right, so what is negative 3 to the 5th power? Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Do a couple of these. A negative times a negative. Remember our little sleeping guy? Negative times a negative is positive. This is a positive 9. A negative times a negative 3, positive 9. So what's 9? And I still got this one, don't forget him. 9.9, or sorry, not 0.9. 9 times 9 times negative 3. All right, so then I can do these two. 9 times 9 is 81. 81 times negative 3. Okay, 81, a negative times a positive, I know is going to be negative. What's 81 times 3? 243. So this is a negative 243. All right, so then that is what goes on bottom. So 1 over negative 243. And really, when you have a negative in a fraction, it doesn't matter where you put the negative. I could put the negative with the 1. I could put it kind of out in the middle, out front, or I can put it in the bottom. What you don't want to do is put the negative everywhere. All right, so you just want one negative. So choose top, bottom, middle. It's up to you. All right, 5x to the 0 power. So this whole thing is to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is always what? 1. It's easy. Okay. 2b to the 0 power. All right, so this time the 0 power is for what? It's for the b. So does it apply to the 2? No, it's just this part. All right, so I still have 2. A letter next to a variable, or sorry, a letter next to a number. It means multiply. So 2, this part right here is 1. 2 times 1 is just 2. All right, see how they're different? This whole thing was to the 0 power, so the whole thing is 1. Here, only this part is to the 0 power, so 2 times 1 is 2. All right, then express each fraction as an expression using a negative exponent. So now we're kind of going the opposite. So you have 1 over 5 to the 7th. Well, how could I rewrite that with a negative exponent? So if I want to move this guy upstairs, right, I got to show that he was downstairs or in the basement or something like that. So I have to write, if I move him upstairs, then he becomes negative. So now he's 5 to the negative 7. He's upstairs, right? So I could put over 1, but do I need to? No. I'll just do this part. Right, 3 to the 6, he's in the basement, in the bottom, or whatever, bottom apartment. If I want to move him up, I got to show that he's negative, because he's down there, he's in the doghouse. All right, move him up. He's 3 to the negative 6. All right, which I could, again, I could put this over 1, but then I don't really need to. So I'm just going to write it, 3 to the negative 6. All right, here, there's already somebody upstairs. So when I move the x up, he's going to have some neighbors, okay? I gotta make him negative to show that he was downstairs. All right, so 2yx to the negative 8. Doesn't apply to this, all right, because they're okay. They paid their rent or whatever. All right, so negative exponents. Basically, remember that to make a negative exponent positive, you have to move it, right? Move it to if it's in the numerator, you're gonna move it to the denominator. All right, and then it's just a regular exponent. All right, see you soon.